Welcome to Heart in Hand Extra, the second weekly flagship show from Heart in Hand. My name's David Edgar, and I'm joined this week by my guest, Mr. Alex Staff.
Hi there, David. How you doing?
I'm good, my friend. Now, Alex, you're well known, I think, as the most optimistic podder when it comes to Rangers, and somebody who perhaps has a slightly sunnier disposition than certain others, although in the case of, say, Big Scott, Paul Pott had a sunnier disposition about things. But I would say that this morning, as we record this, then I think that you would be perfectly entitled to be feeling a bit upbeat.
This is going to sound strange almost. I'm of the opinion that I've asked the question a million times to people, what do you prefer, a good performance or a good result? And you never get anybody answering, it's got to be it's the performance. Everybody just looks at results. Yet when we get a result where we don't play well, you still get the same amount of moans. And, I'm of the opinion that if you've won a game and you haven't played well, that's a positive. That's a good thing. So whilst I am completely in agreement with those who say, well, we're lucky last night, I can't see how you can be negative about it, and the fact that we beat Hibs and Neil Lennon was crying. How can you not enjoy that?
Absolutely. It's just, Christmas a little bit early, I would say. We will break down the game in a bit more detail, and on this show I think that we do try to cover if we haven't played well, or guys who maybe made errors and stuff, and it's just a bit of analysis and breaking it down and doing that for the supporters, so that we don't just tend to go rah 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 we're great, rah 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 we're pish, but we do have to, I think, have the caveat today that both of us have said on the various Heart and Hand shows this week, and the other podders have all said, a win on Wednesday night, under the circumstances, regardless of how it is achieved, is a great result and must be viewed that way. And anything that I think we say as we break down the game has to have that caveat attached, because going into that match with so many first team players out, with a midfield comprising an 18 and a 19-year-old who between them haven't mustered up a half campaign of starts, and to go a goal down, to get 3 points from that match, regardless of individual performances or things that we could have done better, is so far, for me, the best result that we've had since we came back up to the Premier League. And even ahead of the Aberdeen games, I'll say that.
I would agree, actually, yeah. The only one before that, not quite as bad a circumstance, but a similar circumstance, was obviously we went to Pittodrie under Kashinya, and we had Bierman at left back and Bates making his first start and all that sort of stuff. That was also, it wasn't a pretty win, but we won that game 3-0, and in the circumstances it was huge. But last night was probably even bigger, because in many ways the games that Kashinya took charge of last season were getting towards meaningless, Yeah. It was, we're never really getting anywhere. We were going to sit third, and that was that. Last night was a game where, Hibs are only 3 points behind us, Aberdeen sitting level in points with us, and smashing St Johnstone yesterday. We needed that win. It was a lot more pressure on the team than there was at any point last season, really, after the league became, so one-sided. So yeah, I would agree. Since we've come back up, that's probably been most, what's the best word, possibly most surprising one, given the circumstances that we were getting at.
For me, I go a lot on feel, because football is an emotive game, and although on here we do try to break it down more rationally, the day after, for example, we do a post-match reaction pod, and I do a post-match reaction video, and we admit that those just capture how we're feeling at that second. The next day we try to come to it with a little bit of more rational thought, but my feeling is, yes, it was the big, because that's how I felt at the time. I was like, this is a proper Rangers result. We did not play well. We went to a team who hate us, but through a lot of grit, a lot of determination, and a wee bit of luck, but earned luck, we were able to emerge with the 3 points. And for me, it's a huge gap jumped by this team, where they've shown to themselves and to us as well, but more importantly to themselves, that they can do that they have quality in areas where we can hurt teams. Graham Murty spoke about it before the match, that he was confident that we had quality to hurt Hibs. We proved that, but then we showed a kind of gutsiness to realise, I think, look, we're not playing well, so we need to adapt to the circumstances of this match rather than just try the same things or try desperate things, i.e. long ball, or just throw up our hands and say, well, it's not our day, which has happened. I think we'd be fibbing if we said it hasn't happened to Rangers since we got back in the Premier League, where the teams have maybe settled for a result with 15-20 minutes to go. There was none of that last night. That team were determined that they were getting away with those 3 points, and they dared Hibs to come and wrestle those points off them, and Hibs were unable to.
Yes, absolutely. It was just you touched on exactly what won us the game. It was just an acceptance of, right, boys, we're no doing well here. Let's just let's keep it simple, work our balls off, and if they're going to score a goal, it's going to have to be an absolute belter because we're not giving them anything. And that was ultimately what won us the game. The 2 moments of magic, and I think it's fair to describe both as 2 moments of magic. Blindassi's goals, every time I look at it, I think that's, it gets better each time I watch it. It's a really good goal. And then obviously Morelos, you could actually hear Jason Holt celebrating that before anybody else realised it was in. It was so surprising, blame the goalkeeper as much as you want for that one. The very fact that he had the confidence and the ability to get into that position and hit that shot was excellent. So, it was about attitude last night, and it's also worth pointing out in that respect then we lost our captain and obviously on-field leader in Kenny Miller after only 13 minutes. Sorry, possibly a little bit later than that, but we still showed a good attitude. I've heard some during the game. It was easy to complain about the fact that we were losing second balls and all that sort of stuff, but sometimes that happens. As you say, the team didn't just chuck it, they didn't stop, and that was from the back. That was from West Foderingham onwards. After he let in that first goal, he was in the zone. He just was not letting any more in. And the rest of the team kind of grew from there, I think.
What pleased me the most, Alex, was I felt that pretty much every player got better as the game went on, or did better in the second half. And again, we will talk about the passing and whatnot. It was poor at times last night, if we're being totally honest. But everyone, I think, what they couldn't provide in skill last night, or what wasn't working in terms of skill, they thought, right, well, okay, I don't have my passing boots on, I don't have my eye in or whatever, I'm going to make up for that by giving 110%, by winning my personal battle, whatever it is on the field. And they did that, and it surprised Hibs, and you could see that it surprised Hibs, because I am sure that they felt if they were able to put us under sustained pressure and go at us continually, that we would fold under that. And it looked at times early on that might be the case, but then in the second half, having watched the game back, it didn't. And even though we were panicking, and like I say, we were tweeting live, it's a different thing because you are watching the game without that prior knowledge of the result. But watching it back this morning, we don't give a hell of a lot away in that last 20 minutes once we've made the change to cope with their wingers who were giving us problems.
No, we don't. It's easy, as you say, during the game when you're seeing that many crosses coming in, to get a bit worried about it, especially after last season when any team that put in that many crosses against us would have scored 5. Let's be honest.
Correct.
The way we used to defend those things last season. So yeah, it's easy when you see all that to get a bit panicky, but it was a little bit reminiscent of beating St Johnstone. We played a lot better that night when we beat St Johnstone away from home, but if you remember all the corners that they had and the pressure that they had, and we just dealt with it, just stood up to it and had no issues dealing with that, and didn't just chuck it in any way or just accept that they were going to score at some point. We weren't for that, and it was a bit like that last night, just determined that they weren't getting another goal. And their goal came from some poor defending to begin with, but it was a big dirty deflection that's put that in the back of the net. He wasn't beating Foderingham with that shot.
No, he wasn't.
After that, it was really just the boy Barker in the second half, wasn't it?
It really was, yeah. It really was. He was the guy, I think, that has made the perception of the game, I think, what it is. I think you remove him from that Hibs team in the second half. The rest of them didn't contribute an awful lot. But we'll go through the game then. Rangers and Hibs both started, I thought, fairly erratically. There wasn't a lot of quality early on. Hibs began to take, a slight grip on the midfield at that point, and then they got a goal. Poor play from Rangers. Declan John caught out of position again. Young Barjonas, sloppy, didn't trap back correctly. Loose ball in the middle of the park. Bruno Alves, some people felt did okay in terms of jockeying the guy. I felt maybe should have been a little bit more purposeful, given that there was a gap, and it wasn't his fault there was a gap, but there was. And then, as you say, the unlucky deflection, and Kenny Miller goes off. Rangers look very much up against it. Don't really play well in that first half an hour, 35 minutes. It would be, I think, a bit remiss of us to suggest that they did. And it took a couple of excellent saves, one in particular, top draw save from Wes, to keep the score down. And we're kind of thinking, I would say, around about the 40th minute, that if we get in at half time here 1-0, then we can go again. But a lovely goal from Josh Windass. We'll talk about the 2 goals in a minute, but we go, right, great, we've got out of jail here. We then manage somehow to get a second and go in the lead, and then Rangers the second half just emerged with a new attitude, new determination. Hibs fly at us down the flanks because I felt they weren't winning the midfield battle at that stage. They couldn't play through us, so they went wide and got a bit of joy there for about 10-15 minutes. They hit the bar and they hit the post, both through the same player, and he also had a shot just over the bar, the young lad Barker they've got on loan from Manchester City. But then we changed formation to a 5-4-1. We brought David Bates on. We went to quite a tight 3 in the centre of defence, and that allowed us to double up on their full-backs, which meant that instead of getting round us and behind us, which they'd been doing, they started having to cross from the full-back area. And having watched it back, Alex, with the exception of the penalty claim, which we will talk about in a second, they didn't really trouble us in that spell. Wes didn't have the saves to make that he'd had to make previously. He did make one tremendous double save, which almost didn't count because there was an offside up, but I just thought his reaction at that second when he got up, he didn't know it wasn't offside, and I thought that was a tremendous save. That was my take on the game, and having watched it back, I think that it's one of these strange games, Alex, where maybe your perception of it live, which was that Hibs totally dominated and were seconds away from getting a result, was really only kind of 15 minutes in that second half. And after that, I felt between maybe kind of 55 and 70. Yes, they could claim that they were by far the better team and looked like scoring, but in the end Rangers were just pretty comfortably repelling anything they had to offer. So the idea that you know, Lennon espoused that they'd given us a terrible doing and that they were, you know, brutally unlucky to have not come away with anything, I'm not 100%, having watched it again, that I totally subscribe to.
Yeah, and you know, it's worth pointing out when we say this, as much as I hate to defend him in any way, that Lennon's obviously speaking like we would have been last night, with plenty of emotion, having not rewatched the game. You know, I'm pretty sure when he goes back over that with his team in the videos, he'll be saying there was a lack of quality towards the end of the game. A lot of the crosses were wasted or from deep or such like. You're right, they didn't create very much. In fact, the penalty claim was probably the only time in that spell where one of their players got a header to a cross, and it was, you know, such a poor header it's actually caused the issue for Bates. But, you know, that side, they never really, you know, Wes didn't have too much to do. He was coming and claiming really deep crosses as well. Sorry. Yeah, Murty got it right when he brought Bates on. I found it interesting in his post-match interview when he was saying, you know, we need to be better at stopping the crosses, but we weren't doing that tonight, so we changed it. Now, a lot of managers would have brought on Lee Hodgson and doubled up on the wing and tried to stop the crosses. But Murty just decided, doesn't matter what I do here, we're not stopping these. So let's, you know, stop them from getting chances from them. And that's pretty good management, to be honest, you know, because it would have been, you know, it's not the entirely obvious answer at times, but he's made a good choice there by doing that. And that was, you know, it made a big difference. So as you say, those last 20 minutes, from a fan's perspective, we were absolutely bricking it, but the players probably felt a bit more comfortable than we did.
I think so, and like I say, having you watch that 55 to 70 minute period, and it's like, yeah, I mean, Hibs are, the boy Barker is rampant on his wing, and he's going past players, he's cutting inside, getting shots away, very unlucky with two. Got to be honest, there he was unlucky with 2. But after that, yeah, Rangers were okay. You can cross from your full back areas. We don't mind that. We'll deal with that, and we did. We dealt with everything. The goals, watching, as you say, I think they get better every time you watch them. For the first one, there's a lovely pass from Jason Holt that Josh Windass latches onto. Great first touch, and then at speed smashes low into the bottom corner. Terrific finish, but a really well worked goal.
It was, yeah. I mean, Candace has obviously had a bit of luck when he's been closing down and the ball's kind of deflected off of him into Holt.
Well, again, you make your own luck, you know. As you say, yes, it has, but it's not like he's been stood there waiting for it. He's ran in to try and put pressure on the ball and got a break.
Yeah. But what was good from there was there was no, you know, it was instant. You know, Holt straight away into Windass. Windass's first touch, as you say, perfect, and kind of. The goal gets better each time I watch it in terms of the accuracy, but you have to also remember that this is a right-footed player smashing that in with his left foot from outside the box. It was a great finish. I think it's worth pointing out to the listeners, and I know that this is possibly a little unfair, but Rangers can thank Mr. Scott van der Akker for Josh Windass's goal last night, because as David can attest to, literally seconds before he scored that, Scott was asking us all, is Josh Windass having his worst ever game for Rangers?
Literally seconds. I hadn't finished typing my reply to him on our WhatsApp group when suddenly Josh goes through and smashes it away, and I was able to amend my answer to Scott, you know fuck all, which was a hugely pleasing moment, which is why Josh Windass is already a shoe-in for the Heart and Hand Player of the Year, regardless of how the fan vote goes. I will fix it. He's going to win it for that. The second goal, as you say, I mean, to work the opportunity is terrific, but when you watch the shot back again, guys, look at one particular touch from Alfredo where he's kind of worked a bit of space to get by the lad, but then he just pushes it past him at an angle and suddenly the shot's on. Whereas if he'd gone even slightly wider with it, a cross was all he could have done. But it's a beautiful touch that just opens up the goal slightly for him. And as Alex, you said earlier, yes, the keeper should save it, 100%. But that's not an easy skill, A, to get it on target from there, because it's an acute angle, and B, to generate the power he does with so little backlift. It's a tremendous finish, it really is. Bad goalkeeping, yes, but there's not a lot of players on that field could have scored that goal.
No, there's not a lot of players playing in Scottish football could have scored that goal. It's one of those ones that that's a sign of a quality striker, in terms of just, as you say, that touch. It's the sort of thing that's underrated. It's not really noticed in the moment. That little extra touch, just in the right angle, you know, which the goalkeeper's looking at his eyes. The goalkeeper's looking at his body shape.
Oh, he done him with the eyes.
He's going to cut this back.
Yep, he done him with the eyes.
He's done him with the eyes, as you say. But I think people are talking about, you know, he might not have done that if he wasn't a bit more confident or whatever. Morelos hit shots from anywhere. If you remember his goal against Dundee at Ibrox, the second one, it was ridiculous. But it was a shot. It wasn't a cross or anything like that. It was a shot, and he does this. And you're going to get goals like that when that's your attitude. You know, you're going to make. You can't really expose a goalkeeper's mistake if you're not hitting the shots.
And you've got to get it on target. And even as he does that, even if the keeper is diving to, if he doesn't catch that properly, the keeper's got time to react. It's because he's leathered it and it's past the keeper before he's realised what's happened. And it was just, as you say, Jason Holt realised, I think, before all of us did, that he'd put it away. And just such a terrific goal. And we've done well in the second half. I thought, as I say, in the first half, I was kind of critical of Alves, but I thought he marshalled. He looked more like the guy we thought we were getting, and he played very well in the second half. And I thought Danny Wilson had an excellent match. I criticised him at the weekend, but I felt that was probably up there with his first Aberdeen match in terms of the best I've seen him recently, or even at Murrayfield earlier in the season. Now, the penalty incident, it was a penalty as far as I was concerned, but we were denied a stonewaller in the first half as well.
Yeah, I know the whole two wrongs don't make a right thing apply. It was a stonewall penalty. There's no denying that. It was a mistake, probably more by the assistant referee than the referee himself. He would have had the better view of that. Must admit, at the time, just watching it live, and obviously the angle you're watching it on TV isn't as good, but didn't really see it as a handball. I thought it was a bit of a cheeky shout until you seen the replay. So I could maybe understand. You can sometimes tell a handball by the way the ball comes down, as opposed to it hitting the chest. The ball will come down at a slightly kind of slower, different angle when it hits the hand. It didn't do that, which is why I thought, he's chested that and then get rid of it. So I can maybe see why they didn't give that. But it should have been a penalty. As you say, we should have had one in the first half, albeit kind of soft, I suppose, with a shot grabbing in a corner and a set piece happens all the time. So you sometimes call them kind of soft penalties, but it should have been a penalty as well. But ultimately, let's be honest here, how many referee decisions can we point to this season that have went our way?
Exactly.
We only need to look back at the last Hibs game to see that we've not had much joy there.
That's exactly it. I mean, that was, I think, by common consent, probably the worst refereeing performance a lot of us have seen in a long, long time at least. And we were told at the time that these things even themselves up over the season, but it appears that adage only works if you're the side who have benefited from the decision. And I think last night, Neil Lennon's pain at the end of the match, he went full Wibble. We know he's always admired Martin O'Neill, and he was in full extraordinary mode last night because I don't think he realises how much his pain after a result like that sweetens the deal for us. Because if it was me, Alex, right, and I knew that those bastards out there were going to be waiting, cock in hand, to laugh at me if I came out like that, I would play it a lot cooler just to deny them the pleasure.
Yeah. I don't know if you noticed these little wave towards the fans as well as we were giving them abuse from the away end. Things like that. Yeah, I agree. If you know they're going to be enjoying any sort of anguish that you show, then you would be doubly determined not to show it. I think Neil Lennon is, and I've said this for years, back when he was a player as well. Neil Lennon is actually an intelligent man, and when you look at him doing the punditry over the years and at times, he can come across quite well. He isn't the idiot that he quite often comes across as when he's on a pitch or he's involved in football. But for whatever reason, the game seems to snap something in him, and we've seen that with his personal life as well. The guy has issues, mental health issues, and I never take them lightly, but he definitely has something, and football isn't very, very supportive of those, and I think, as you say, he's probably been thinking, especially during the game, give the fans away when we're calling him a wanker and all that sort of stuff. He's probably been happy to kind of give and take a little bit, but after the game he's just completely lost any rationality, and as you say, just gave us exactly what we were looking for. Please cry about this, Neil. If he came out afterwards and said, we played really well, give credit to Rangers, they fought hard for it, we should have got something from it, a little bit disappointed, we'd have been gutted.
Yeah, no, totally.
Come out with an interview like that,
That's the time to play the full Owen Coyle, when you come out and you give it the remarkably upbeat. You just come out and you go, we were great, wasn't it a night? Got stiffed by that decision, but these things happen. And you can go back into your dressing room and he could have talked to that kind of homeless tramp guy that was sitting on the bench next to him, which was good. Well, I'm Alan Thompson. I thought he was his drinking buddy. Has he now just found some guy off the street?
I don't know who that guy was. It's a mighty beard, wasn't it?
It's Gary Parker, believe it or not.
You're kidding?
No, it's Gary Parker. It's the assistant manager.
I'm pretty sure the last time I seen him, he didn't have a hair in his face. How the hell did they do that? That's like that bit, that Santa Claus film with Tim Allen, where he just instantly grows a full beard. That's kind of, where the hell did that come from?
I just think that we're told all the time that the house prices in Edinburgh have skyrocketed over the last few years, and I just think he's proof that I think he's decided to save his salary by sleeping in his car. But yeah, I mean, when you're a club that's renowned, shall we say, for a seamier side of life, it's probably best that your assistant manager doesn't look as though he's auditioning for the part of Ace in the Viz musical. But it was fun. I'm not going to lie, Neil Lennon's tears are delicious, and thank you, Neil, for providing a fresh can of them for the Rangers support. So we move on, Alex, because great result, 4 wins in a row. not easy in this league, because if we look at the super duperest Celtic team of all time, who are teaching the rest of the world a footballing lesson except in Europe, they haven't managed to win 4 games in a row for months, and it's not an easy thing to do. And they haven't been easy fixtures for Rangers. Aberdeen home and away, Ross County, very defensive performance from them, Hibs away. To get 12 points, that's after the 2 results we had, I would have been happy with 9. So 12, I am doing my happy dance.
To be honest, I think a lot of fans would have taken 6 points, honestly, after the Dundee game. I think a lot of fans would have said, let's beat Aberdeen and Ross County at home and see what happens away to Aberdeen and Hibs, And I think it's fair to say that 3 of those 4 games, the 2 Aberdeen games and the Hibs game, given the injuries and everything else, and Ryan Jack's suspension, all that sort of stuff, that it was very difficult to argue we were getting into those games as favourites. The only one we were was Ross County, clearly.
Yeah.
The others, I think we spoke about the Aberdeen away game being just, could go either way. We could play them 10 times and who knows how it would go. So yeah, I can't imagine there was any fan anywhere thought we were going to win the 4 games in a row after the Dundee game and Graham Murray's interview after that as well. So it's been a cracking result for him. And all I'll say is a strangely negative moment from Mr. Optimistic. All I'll say is last 2 performances haven't been great. You don't tend to get away with a run of poor performances. So I'm hopeful that we play better on Saturday at least. But ultimately, it's only the result that matters.
Yeah, we're in a stage and we're going to be in a stage for quite a long time, where that overrides everything. And I'm very much of the opinion that right now, if you want to see great football, there's lots of it on the telly, but I want to see Rangers win before I want to worry about the level of performance that's achieving it. And so long as they're getting the 3 points. However, you're right, I do agree with that. We did ride our luck at times last night, and you can't hope to do that and get away with it continually. I suppose the counterpoint to that would be we played reasonably well against Hamilton and Dundee, and they emerged with no points from those 2 matches. If it's a case of playing like we did against Hamilton, let's be honest, we murdered Hamilton. We murdered Hamilton 0-2, and ended up with nothing but egg on our faces. So we've got St Johnstone at the weekend. You mentioned earlier they got mullered last night at home by Aberdeen. They are not having a good season, and in fact Rangers have already recorded a very handsome victory away to them earlier this season. Normally, getting a team like that at Ibrox after the kind of away performances we've witnessed from Rangers, we've only dropped those 3 points at Dundee away from home this season. It's a remarkable run of away form from Rangers, and it does even stretch back into last year. Ibrox has not been a fortress for us.
No, well, we're not playing well there, and we've discussed, certainly you have on various points, potential reasons for that. But you can identify as many as you like. We just need to understand that it's been inconsistent at best at home. You can point to a few good performances and a few horrendous ones. So normally St Johnstone are a difficult team to play against, but this season seems to be a season too far for their squad. They seem to be just that. The way that squads tend to need to be refreshed every 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
You'll get a bit of success, but then you need to kind of keep it fresh. And they've had a very similar squad for a while now, and they made a great start to the season, but they fell away big time. But they're normally really difficult to play against. So the fact that we've scalped them 3-0 at home, Aberdeen scalped them 3-0 at home, it's not like them at all. And then you look at them and going to Celtic Park and getting a 1-1 draw. They're all over the place. So I don't know what to expect from them on Saturday. But then the problem is we don't know what to expect from Rangers most of the time at the moment either. So it could be quite interesting in that regard as well.
We're struggling a little bit on sheer numbers, I'd say, at the moment, Alex, for this game. And obviously Ryan Jack completes his suspension, and it'll be great to have him back. We could certainly do with the option. But with Kenny Miller dropping out now, we don't know for how long at this point, the squad is pretty stretched.
It is, yeah. The very fact that Bill Jonas made a start in such a big game last night tells you that. Luckily, guys like Wilson and Holt, who we've spoke about loads, are stepping up. They're both doing quite well in the last few games. So, the squad is stretched, but the ones that we've had to call upon are giving us decent performances. Kenny Miller's injury, you almost get the impression some fans will be happy about that to some extent, because they've not wanted him playing for weeks. But it's just, as you say, it's another body down. It was something we just can't afford at the moment. We've not got a high quality, huge number squad as it is anyway. But to have Wallace, Donnins and Miller all out at the same time, 3 very influential players, that's quite big. And most teams would tend to struggle when you start losing the kind of influential players like that all at the same time. So Miller's injury is in no way positive, really. Even if you don't believe he should be starting the games, it's not a good thing at all. Definitely not.
No, of course not. And that kind of thing I find pretty distasteful, to be honest. It's like, the guy hasn't been playing well, but we could do with the body, because at the moment we do appear to have a group of players that I would describe as almost non-playing substitutes, because they seem so far removed from being first team options. And there seems to be a core group that not only Graham Murty trusts, but you could actually argue that Pedro Caixinha trusted, and the remainder of the guys are not players that they feel they can pitch in at the moment for whatever reason, because they get named on the bench a lot and they are never called upon, no matter the circumstance. Because if you look at these last 6 matches, this run of games, there's been all different types of situations in those. There's been protecting a lead, there's been chasing a game, there's been playing really well but not scoring, there's been playing not too well but scoring. You've had every permutation that you could of a set of circumstances. And for instance, he's never turned to Nico Kranjčar. And there are a few players like that you just think, unless everyone else on that bench, the 3 or 4 that he trusts to come on, suddenly falls down with food poisoning a la airplane, he's not going to turn to these guys. And I wonder if, one, that's just the state of the situation, but the effect that has, Alex, on a player's mental readiness to get on the field. Because if you are Nico, we've seen him warm up for 60-70 minutes a few times and never get a sniff of any playing minutes. And there must be something in the back of these guys. Mike Dalcio's another one, of course, kind of famous example or infamous example. They must know, Christ, I'm really not rated at this club.
Yeah. When, again, 18-year-old Jamie Burjonas gets in to the midfield, and you could even argue, if we trusted, say, Lee Hodgson more, and I know he had a start recently, but if we trusted him more, there's a good chance that he starts and Tavernier's now goes in the midfield. Yeah. But we don't trust him.
Well, we can't, because he hasn't shown a lot. I mean, his performances were, I've been badly unimpressed with the fullbacks defensively the last 2 matches, but at no point has it occurred to me to go get Hodgson in, because you're right, I'd rather have Declan John and James Tavernier maybe not playing as well as they can, in the hope that they will improve, as opposed to pitching in Lee Hodgson. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and Kranjčar's actually the best example. You're right. He's constantly on the sidelines warming up, and never been brought on. Even in games that we're winning, for example, the Partick Thistle game, 3-0 win. You would have thought that 3-0 up after 50 minutes, you would have thought that that's the sort of game you would get him on with a bit more time. But I don't know if he came on that day. I can't quite remember, but if he did, he got about 10 minutes.
No, he did.
It was a sub appearance recently.
He came on that. He came on in the Thistle game, and I think that's what's killed his season. Because he came on, we were 3-0 up, and he was really poor. And he blundered about. He didn't look fit. He looked like a guy who just should not. He didn't belong, and you could see it on that field, and it was kind of sad to watch. And I think after that, Murty's just thought to himself, because we were chasing against Hamilton, no Nickel Cranshaw, and you think at the back of your head, well, he's got that strike on him, and he has the ability to maybe just play a part. Nope, not considered. Dundee, nope, not considered. Now, I can understand the Aberdeen matches, the way that they were poised, and the Hibs matches that you wouldn't necessarily think to put him on, but even the likes of Saturday, when we were not playing well against Ross County, we were chasing a goal for large parts of it. He was warming up right in front of where I sit at Ibrox for the vast majority of the game, and at no point did Graham Murty ever look as though he was going to select him. And I think he must know. But to me, that begs the question, because I don't think Murty's the type of guy who... He strikes me as a practical fella, and I don't think he's the type of guy that just writes off a player based on anything other than football. So to me, I hate to say it, but it indicates that in the case of Cranshaw, that whatever was there, this last injury has decimated.
Potentially, yeah. And as you say, mentally it's difficult for players to be out for a while, to be sitting on the sidelines, to be on the bench every game and never getting on, and then suddenly to be pitched in. It's what made Peña's performances against Aberdeen all the more impressive, because he looked as though he was, nowhere to be found and totally done. We thought his time as a Rangers player was up. He came in 2 games against Aberdeen and played well, but again, he patched him into that position, the very position that you would think Nico Cranshaw could play brilliantly for us. He put Peña in, who hadn't been seen at all, in front of Cranshaw for those games, which, as you say, says quite a bit about how much Murty thinks this guy's ready for it. You're right, Murty's a very practical manager, and that's why David Bates is ahead of Cardoso at the moment, is because he thinks, I need a defender who will just defend. I need that option, and that's why I like David Bates, because that's what he does best. And I think the boy's got a bit of a future. I don't know if it's at Rangers, but I think he'll do okay in his career, because he's got natural defensive instincts, and he's quite good at that stuff.
It's trust again, isn't it? It's trust. You can trust David Bates to do a certain thing, and
exactly,
as you say, I mean, Fabio Cardoso, I think pretty much undoubtedly has more ability and has a much stronger technical side to his game, but at the moment, absolutely, Murty just doesn't feel that he can trust certain players, whereas he knows David Bates, for his limitations, will do X, and I need somebody to go in there and do X. And I think that has kind of taken an already kind of small squad and almost reduced it further. And I'm not criticising Graham Murty for this, incidentally, because I don't know if you can... I mean, I'm not clamouring for the returns of Cardoso, Hodgson, Cranshaw. I don't think they've shown enough, but it does demonstrate the need for us come January, Alex, to add bodies, hopefully quality ones, but even loan deals. We need to get people coming back in, and that has prompted, Alex, people to ask about loan players. Now, with loans, you can't always bring people back because you sign a contract for a year and effectively it's a transfer for a year. You can't just, unless you've placed a special clause in the contract. The one that keeps coming up that people are talking about, and I think from the noises come from Ibrox, it is a possibility, would be Michael O'Halloran. What would your thoughts be on, if it's possible, trying to recall some of the players that we've got out on loan?
It's worth pointing out, David, that O'Halloran's loan's only until January.
Oh, well, there you go.
And I don't know if it's Forrester or Dodo, one of the others is as well, possibly both of them. So these players will come back unless their clubs want them to stay longer. And even if they did want them to stay longer and we decide not to, that's, the players will come back. But you've just spoken there about, trust, about finding a player who can consistently do something, and they might not be as talented as the other guy, but they're consistently more going to give you a 6 or 7 out of 10 and not have the 4 or 5 out of 10.
Correct.
And O'Halloran is not someone you can trust to be consistent. We've seen that already. He's had people talk about him not having chances at Rangers. He's had them, and you'll get one good game out of 5 if you're lucky. So he's a player that you might come back in just to be a body in the squad, but I doubt he'll make any major impact in the first team. And certainly the other loan players, the only one who would have potentially been useful at the moment would have been Andy Halliday, and he is away for the season and we won't be able to recall him. So I think the rest of them, I don't think they have a future at Rangers. I just don't see it. We've given these guys chances, possibly with the exception of Dodo, and consistency hasn't been there. And Murty's the sort of manager, if it's going to be him, or whoever comes in, I would imagine they'll be looking for who they can trust first, and then building from there.
Loan market?
We'll be daft if we don't use it, but it's just what sort of quality of player we can get is the issue, because even a good quality youngster in England is out of our price range, in terms of wages that we can pay. So hopefully there's some Scandinavian, Spanish, whatever player out there not getting much of a game that we can go and snatch in a 6-month loan, who comes in and is brilliant. But it's any market's tricky when you're shopping with the resources we've got. We know that, but we'd be crazy not to use a loan market. I'm not one for dismissing that. A lot of people say, why don't we just use our own players? If our own players were good enough, we wouldn't have had to wait and go on the loan guy in the first place.
Exactly.
So yeah, I would be crazy not to use it, and it would be nice to get someone in who makes the impact that Heinemann made to begin with last season. That would be lovely, but it's not easy to find.
Well, you need that in a lone player, because if you look at the example of, say, Aaron the Man, and I'm not picking on him here because he's tiny and it would be really offside of me to do so, but a loan like that is not a lot of usage. You need someone who can come in and have an impact immediately. Now, whether or not that's possible with a youngster is a good question, because yes, you will get talented players from bigger clubs, not bigger clubs, but you know what I mean, richer clubs. You will get talented players from them, but there's a reason that they are going out on loan. It's to try and get the experience that requires to push into a first team. So it may be a case of going after, as you say, some of these guys who are a little bit older, more experienced, and just not quoted at their clubs for game time. And that market, by definition, isn't full of sparkling diamonds. It's not. And you need guys who will come in. I think that the position, I would say, we're absolutely covered in is centre half. I think we're fine there. And I've complained about the performances of certain players at times, and will again. But we've got options in there, and we could carry an injury or a suspension in there. The rest of the park, I think all over, we could do with a little bit of strength, because there's not really a lot of depth to any position, as witnessed last night by the fact we've got Ross McCrory within 10 games has become one of our most important players, if not the key player. And yes, the system we're playing matters, but again last night, McCrory and Jason Holt next to him, I'll say as well, and young Jonas didn't hide. I don't think he played well, but he didn't hide. But McCrory's dig in midfield and his constant harrying and harassing of people on the ball is something that Rangers have lacked since the Walter Smith days.
Yeah, he reminds me a lot of Kevin Thompson in that position, actually. He's got this uncanny ability to win a ball that you think, he's going to have to foul him. Oh, wait, no, he doesn't. He's got a way of getting his body in between a player and the ball that, not most players can't do it, and they just foul the guy, But McCrory seems to have that ability, and Kevin Thompson's the last player I can remember as having who had that as well. Certainly wasn't scared to rattle out with a challenge if he needed to, but he was actually really, really good at staying on his feet and just getting in front of people and getting the ball away from them, and then having the composure when he was on it to find a pass. It wasn't just kind of win it and hope for the best. No. So he reminds me a lot of Kevin Thompson in that position, and he's very good in the ball. He is, as you say, as we spoke about already in the past already, one of our main men, despite not that many starts. He played pretty well last night against I know he's not liked by the Rangers fans, but John McGinn is a very good midfielder in this league. He is. And McCrory more than handled him, which is why eventually Hibs just started playing everything wide and tried to go there.
Oh, absolutely.
McCrory just shut that door.
Absolutely, they had to. They were trying to play it off as a tactical thing, but it was because they couldn't play through the midfield that they had to go out to the wide areas, and then we, as we spoke about, countered that, and they had to play from deep. But you're absolutely right. He was up against super duper $5 million rated John McGinn, and he's got a sort of astute physicality, and you mentioned it there, of being able to use his body intelligently and not give away silly fouls. He also has that wee streak of cynicism I like, that he'll empty somebody if it needs doing. And silly booking last night, which I hope he'll learn from, because if you're a tackler, if you're going to get a yellow card, make sure it's for a useful tackle. Don't sell a booking, and he did that last night. But that's just inexperience, and that will come through time with him. But yeah, I'm really excited by him, and it's a testament that the opportunity is there at Rangers. If you come into the team and you grab your moment and you own it, and he has done that, to the fact now that I don't think of him as a promising kid. I don't think of him as a guy who's emerging. I now think of him as, like Tav, Alves, McCrory, Morello, first teamers. He's in that list, and to have changed the perception from debuting kid to that in the space of time he does is testament not only to a high level of ability, because you don't get to make your debut for Rangers if you don't have ability. It's the ability to then demonstrate it consistently and calmly that catches out a lot of players, and he's shown that, and I just think he's having a remarkable season. Yeah,
it's the difference, as you say, between a good Rangers player and a great one is his mentality, and he has the mentality that makes it look as though he's going to be a great Rangers player. And already we're worried about how long we can keep him, such as his level of performance. Sometimes people kind of try and temper this by going, we said same about Andy Murdoch in the past, or Rhys McCabe, they'll drop names in like that. I don't think anybody, since Barry Ferguson's days, has come in and impressed every fan as much as Ross McCrory is. No one's got a bad word about him at all. There was always a debate about players like Murdoch and McCabe, or even Jamie Ness, who looked good at the time, his first breakthrough. There was always a bit of a debate with fans. Some just didn't rate him or whatever. There's not one Rangers fan that doesn't rate Ross McCrory, and that's a huge thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Christ. And there's been more experienced and more expensive players than him that have not managed to cross that threshold, so fair play to him for that. So Alex, before we head off today, we obviously finish up with our predictions for Saturday's match. I can see it being another fairly turgid afternoon at Ibrox, and I still, though, think Rangers will emerge with the 3 points. I'm going for 5 in a row, and I'm going Rangers to do it by 1-0.
I'll be slightly more optimistic than that and say 2-0. Mainly, as you say, I think it will be just one of those days, freezing cold weather, St Johnstone there just to spoil the game and try and hit us on the break. It won't be, great fun, but I think we will play better than we have in our last 2 games. We'll get a couple of goals and we'll just kind of manage the game largely. So yeah, that'd be my similar prediction to yourself, just with a wee extra goal in there.
If we were to do that and we were 2-0 up and comfortable for the last half hour, for example, I genuinely think I might indulge in self-pleasure in the stand, because I'd be so happy. That would be great to just not be shitting ourselves for the last 20 minutes of a match, or being apoplectic in rage at what we're seeing would just be lovely. But no, we've got that to look forward to. And to look forward to on Heart and Hand, we of course will be back on Monday with our flagship pod, which is free, always will be, and you'll get it in all your usual places. But if you want to hear a bit more from the likes of myself or Alex, please visit Heart and Hand's Patreon site, which is patreon.com, patreon.com/Heart and Hand, where you can sign up to receive extra content. You can take one of 2 subscription pledges. One is $1.99 per month and one is $3.99 per month. It's in US dollars to make it cheaper, and it works out about $174 a month for the earlier pledge, and obviously $358 on the, or $348 sorry, on the second pledge. And for that you get loads of extra content. We've got tons out there. People are actually saying to us, we can't believe how much content is going out there. You don't have to listen to it all, by the way, if you've signed up. Thank you if you have. 1,500 of you have, and we really appreciate it. But there's loads there, including our in-depth look at the Advocat years. We've got 2 episodes of that show up. Our debate show last week, I won't spoil it for anyone who didn't hear the result, but Alex argued with Cammy over whether or not Kenny Miller was a Rangers legend. This week Alex argues with me over the term we are Rangers. Does it hold us back, that feeling of we are Rangers and that sort of inbuilt superiority, and that we should be achieving certain levels? And we had a lot of fun doing that debate as well. It drops tomorrow. But there are new shows, new contents, daily updates, loads and loads of stuff. Please come and pay us a visit. Everyone who's been so far has enjoyed it. We haven't had one refund request yet, so in fact many people have upped their subscription subscriptions from $1.99 to the $3.99 to get even more content. So we're taking that as a positive. So please come along. If you don't want to do that though, still plenty of extra free stuff available. You can go to our YouTube channel, which is just youtube.com/Heart and Hand Podcast, and you'll find videos that we do on there as well. And I think that's pretty much all our plugs. You can contact me on Twitter. I'm at ibroxrocks. Alex is
at Strider80.
If you want to read more of what Alex has got to produce, where can they go?
rangersnews.uk or Four Lads Had a Dream on WordPress. I will say as well, just very quickly, the other guys who do the writing on both are doing great jobs, and it's well worth a read, guys. It really is.
Thank you very much for listening, folks. My name's David Edgar, and I'll talk to you all again on Monday. Cheers. Bye.